I'm a giant when I step. Ballin' like the Jets, starting Jersey like the Nets, to New York like the Mets. Yeah, I win like the Yanks, like the past, spell a check. G&T Sports Talk, how to show on the net, yeah. On myself, yeah, I bet, yeah. I put blood to the sweat, yeah. From the east to the west, G&T Sports Talk, how to show on the net, yeah.
Hello, Mr. Rosecrans. What is going on? We have Trent Rosecrans from The Athletic, and he covers the Reds. Thank you for joining us today. We want to talk about the state of baseball. So how's everything been?
Oh, good. There's not much baseball, but other than that, we're okay.
Yeah, I mean, I saw your article today, and I might as well get right to it, give the people what they want. So what do you think about the season? Where do we stand? Are we going to get a season? What do you think?
I think there will be a season, but I think it'll be a wholly unsatisfying season. It's looking right now like it might be, kind of the 48 games. That's what the owners are saying they can afford. And so that's what it ultimately, that's what I'm expecting. I think it's, it's only barely better than no season.
Right. Yeah, I mean, me and Bobby are not thrilled with that by any means. We don't like it, but we'll definitely take it over nothing, like you said. And Jason Kipnis, I think, actually just spoke to someone from ESPN Chicago and said the same thing you said. He said he can't see how the sides agree and they're going to have to enforce the season.
Yeah, I mean that's I've had other players tell me that, and just that they expect that to happen, and I don't know that that's. At one point, that may have seemed like pessimism, but now it kind of seems like reality.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence about it. It's not going to be great, but it's better than nothing, like you said. So we'll have to see what happens with this, I guess. So what do you think is going to be the hardest part for them to play such a short season, like ramping themselves up and waiting all this time? And they're going to have to – every game's going to be crucially important, even with expansive playoffs. You'll definitely open up injury risk, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things, and there's so many unintended consequences and unforeseen consequences that we just don't know. The question is, there's supposed to be. I mean, there'll probably be about a three-week spring training. We'll see how pitchers go from that, from what they've been doing. If they've put on too much stress or not enough stress during this warm-up. I mean, nobody. This is unprecedented, and nobody knows what it's going to do or the best way to prepare like this. And it's just, we'll see. I mean, for a long time I've said I don't think that whoever wins this there's going to be an asterisk or anything like that. And I keep pointing back to 1995 when the Braves won. Nobody puts an asterisk next to that. But if you have a severely shortened season, something like around in that 50 games played, plus a playoff format that we've never seen before and probably will, and maybe never see again, it will be certainly noted. If not an asterisk, there will certainly be a footnote. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing to look at. I think it shouldn't count the same, but it will. It's even as a Yankees fan, I think we have a good chance to win it this year, but it's going to be weird. It's going to be different. I just have to accept the fact that it's better than nothing. So I'd rather see them play because it really sucks not baseball. But I'm sure you agree with me on this. They really blew a chance to have the spotlight for a month. Basketball and hockey aren't going till late July, early August. We could have started July 4th, played at least 82 games. It's just a bad look.
Oh, yeah. It's. I mean, there's going to be no winner in this. I mean, but I will say this, and I've noted this a couple places, that one thing to keep in mind is baseball has its own sordid history with labor negotiations and labor trouble. So that is always going to be an issue. But one difference between the NBA, the NHL, and Major League Baseball is those seasons were nearly complete anyway. Those players got their money. They've got the majority of their salary. Whereas with baseball, you're talking about taking this risk into the unknown and not giving them what they'd been promised. Whereas the NBA and the NHL players had, for the most part, gotten what they were promised, what their contracts stipulate.
So with all this happening right now, going towards the future, do you see this is going to be a problem with labor negotiations? because of what's going on right now?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, labor negotiations are never easy,
Mm-hmm.
and especially after the last one where it was widely regarded that the players took a big L, and they don't usually take the L's in those. And I think there is pressure on the union to give them a better deal than they got last time. And this was a great opportunity to try to build up goodwill and get a head start on those kind of negotiations. And instead, it's been just the opposite. And it's this year's going to be ugly, and next year's going to be ugly too. There's no way around it.
Now, another question for you. Do you feel that Rob Manfred is basically destroying baseball, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, we heard that about Bud Selig. We've heard that about everybody. I think baseball fans tend to be a little more fatalistic than any other sports fans. He's certainly losing any popularity race, and I think there's Adam Silver and everybody else when it comes to commissioners. You can, I don't know that the approval rating on any commissioner other than Silver is very high now or ever. I don't think Manfred is out to ruin baseball, or he doesn't like baseball or anything like that. I just think that he is there to negotiate labor, and that is what he has done. That's what he's done for 25 years. He's made those deals, and he will have quite the ordeal on his hands in 2021. And he would not be getting a lot of votes of confidence from the players or fans right now, but in the end, that doesn't matter. It matters about the owners.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. So I don't know if you've taken a side or a stance with this. Me and Bobby are adamantly with the players. I think the owners could definitely afford to pay them more. They're just trying to dance around what the players want. All these offers have basically tried to be creative, but it's still not getting anywhere close to what they're looking for. Do you have a side on this, or are you trying to stay neutral in it? What's your feel on it?
I'm just following it as much as anybody. Working at The Athletic, I don't have to get into much of the nitty-gritty. I talk to people on both sides, of course, but I leave most of the hard reporting to Ken and Evan, and they're doing a lot of that. But I usually tend to side with labor. Right. That's kind of the part where I am. The players, I think, are asking for something that is relatively fair. And that the owners, part of being a business is you accept the responsibility when things aren't good. There's a lot of businesses who are not going to be as profitable as they had hoped to be this year. I work for one, and I just, The Athletic had layoffs recently and pay cuts. I just took a pay cut, and I understand that, but it's not. In this case, this is a $10 billion a year business. And there are certainly concerns and there are certainly problems, but it is very short-sighted to me. And I am no economist and I don't have the books, but it's very short-sighted for me, for the owners to be taking this hardline stance now for a temporary loss of income this season.
I couldn't agree more, honestly. I've been saying that from the beginning. At first, I tried to keep my opinion out of it, but frustrations boiled over. I was just like, come on. Like, the offers, they're just bothering me because, like, they're not getting any better, really. They're just trying to get creative with, like, the wording and stuff. Like, yesterday, they made it look better, say 75%, and the average person thought, like, it was 75% of normal salaries, but that's not the case at all. It was, like, 33 to 35, so yeah, the players aren't going for it unless it gets close to 100. The owners aren't going to get close. So it looks like we have a line in the sand and no one wants to move.
Right. And that sand, that'll be at that 48 to 50 games. I mean, it looks, from all appearances, the owners have a number that they want to pay, and that would coincide with 48 games. And Manfred can dictate that, and that is kind of the nuclear option, and that's kind of where we're headed, unfortunately.
So if he dictates that, and that ends up happening. When do you think opening day is? And I've also heard that they may not do expansive playoffs under that circumstance. I've heard conflicting things with that. I've heard 16, I've heard 10, 14.
Yeah, it's all up in the air. I mean, 16 would make sense just because it's a nice even number to get it in. I mean, if 48 games, it looks like that would be sometime in August, mid-August. And nobody yeah, it's a mess. It's just a mess.
Exactly. I mean, you're going to play less than 2 months of real games. You're going to have like a fake playoff almost, and you're going to have fluke teams that don't belong in the playoffs, and it's going to be really crazy. It's going to be wild. I mean, I'm for it, though. I mean, I'd rather that than nothing. It's just a frustrating thing. And I want to thank you for reaching out to me and talking to me, helping me give some advice for the stuff I want to do, because that's how we ended up here. I reached out to you on Twitter. You dropped a tweet about aspiring baseball writers, and I do appreciate that. I'm also curious, have you worked with Ken Rosenthal personally, or just like through the company and like talking to him like here and there?
Oh yeah, no, Ken is it's crazy. I tell everybody he's about the best teammate you can have in the world. There was a group of us talking last night, and Ken knows pretty much every baseball writer at the Athletic. Ken knows their family's names, and he is, he's like Mike Trout on the field and like the 25th man in the clubhouse. He's just the best guy. It's unbelievable. Working with him and Jason Stark, two titans in this industry, and as good as those guys' work is, they are better people, and I mean that 100%. I can't speak highly enough of Ken Rosenthal and Jason Stark, and working alongside both of them. Their lack of ego, willingness to share, it's just unparalleled. And I think anybody who's worked with either one of those two will tell you the exact same things. They are the absolute best people in the business, and it's just unbelievable. Ken is a wonder, and it really is.
So did you have an inspiration to get into the profession that you're in?
Yeah, I wasn't a good enough baseball player.
Feel that.
I tell this story, but it's kind of true. When I was probably 10, 11, and I could tell that my friend Jimmy was just so much more talented than I was. And he we had the whole, when he wasn't pitching, when we were, we played together 10, 11, like from 9 to 12. We were always on the same team, and when he wasn't pitching, we were left-handed left side of the infield, because we're the only two guys who could make the throws at shortstop and third base at 9. But yet I could tell that it was a little different when he did it. Right. And so pretty early we learned that. And Jimmy went on. His name's Jimmy Anderson. He pitched parts of 5 seasons in the big leagues. And so I've been on a press pass to see him pitch before, and it was pretty amazing. So it was very cool.
Yeah. So I actually have a question for you in regards to the Reds.
Sure.
So this team, and Julian is the one who told me about them, that they can surprise a lot of people due to the signings that they did this year. Do you think that they can make noise going down the road, that they could be one of the best teams in baseball?
I mean, they can, this year we don't even know. Like I always say that once you get in the playoffs, you have a chance. And
this year,
if this year, most people can. And the other part is you look at them, especially if you're doing playoff baseball, if their rotation in the playoffs are Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray, and Trevor Bauer, that's pretty good top 3 to go. Sonny Gray had his troubles in New York, but if anybody paid attention to what he did last year and what he did in Oakland, he is a very good pitcher. He was a great pitcher last year. Got Cy Young votes. And then Luis Castillo on a given day can be as good as anybody in baseball.
Right. Let me ask you this also as well. The signing of Mike Moustakas, was that a big, it's a very big signing, you think? It will help the team
Yeah.
down?
You know, what it was kind of a tone setter. I think I wrote this pretty early in the offseason that the Reds had said they were going to spend some money.
Mhm.
But you can say you're going to spend some money and people may not believe you. So if you pull up to the Maserati dealership in a Chevy, people aren't going to take you seriously.
Right.
You've got to come up and pull up and say, hey, we're going to do it. The fact that they signed Moustakas as early as they did
Right.
and kind of set a tone, and it was with Scott Boras, who then later brought them Nick Castellanos. That was huge.
Right.
And, when you add a guy like Moustakas, who is, I think you saw that a lot this spring,
Right.
in the clubhouse. People gravitate towards Mike Moustakas. Joe Madden talked him up so much. I talked to him, a story I've put off for a while, but we'll probably get to it once we get to baseball. But Joe Madden said, that's my guy. And he's never managed him. He just watched him in Milwaukee and talked about what a difference maker he was, and an attitude. And you talk to people around the Royals and the Brewers. Wade Miley, who signed with the Reds, said that when he was with the Brewers, when they traded for Moustakas, and he said that day that team was different. And he's a quality player, and I think they probably did overpay, but I think they had to.
Right.
And that is something a lot of other teams haven't done yet. So it was nice to see, and I think it set a tone for this offseason and what they were able to eventually do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Bobby hit the nail on the head. I've been a big advocate for your Reds.
Yes,
I ranked you guys 8th in the power rankings. I put you a touch over the Cardinals. I put the Cardinals 9. I really like the Reds lineup. I thought Castellanos was an underrated signing. A lot of people hate on his defense, but he's going to hit the ball in that ballpark. He's going to be great. And I also like the Akima move. And I know you wrote something about him too, and I saw that autograph he signed that you had in one of your articles. So I'm curious your thoughts on those two players and how you think the lineup is as a whole, because I felt the universal DH would have really helped the Reds. And I wonder, are they still going to implement that in the shortened season?
Yeah, I think it'll certainly be a universal DH. I don't know that we'll see the pitcher hitting again in baseball.
That's not a bad thing in my opinion.
I'm a fan of that.
I'm not. I prefer the other way, but I'm fine.
You're AL, you're NL. We get it.
It's so I can see that really happening, and that makes the Moustakas signing a little bit better, because you still have Joey Votto under contract for a couple of years. He can move to DH. Moustakas could move to first. Nick Senzel can move to second. You have a lot of flexibility there. Nick Castellanos can maybe play some first at some point. Shogo Akiyama is a real unknown, but what they wanted out of Akiyama was a guy who got on base. They don't care. They basically have said, don't worry about hitting home runs, and he would hit 20 or so a year in Japan. They said, don't worry about hitting home runs, get on base, because when you have Moustakas, Castellanos, Eugenio Suarez, and all those guys behind you, we're fine. Just make sure that those guys hit 2-run homers and not solo homers.
Right, and get if he can move in the scoring position, maybe steal a few bases, because I don't think the Reds have much speed. Correct me if I'm wrong. Besides him,
yeah, but it doesn't.
No one plays like that.
Nobody plays like that anymore. They had Billy Hamilton forever, and
too much. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll if you can get on base and clog them for those big homers, that's fine.
Yeah. What do you think about Aquino? I really like him. What do you think his spot on this team is?
It's so weird, and I think that's also where a universal DH comes in with Aristides Aquino. Aquino is, who knows? You saw a month where he was as good as anybody ever, honestly.
Yeah.
That first month, and then the second month he really struggled. I'm sure he's somewhere in the middle. That's not saying a whole lot. I think he's not as good as he was in August, and he's not as bad as he was in September. And we shall see. It's a crowded outfield with Nick Senzel there as well, Aquino, Jesse Winker, and Akiyama. And Castellanos. There's just a lot of outfields, a lot of places to play, but no manager has gotten too upset about having too many good players.
Right, it's a good problem to have, and I agree with what you said about the rotation before. It's part of the reason why I like the Reds so much. If you put that out there in the postseason, that Castillo, Gray, Bauer, that's a real nice combination right there. Not many teams can top that.
And you get to the likes of Michael Lorenzen, Amir Garrett, and Raisel Iglesias in the bullpen. Iglesias had a rough year last year, but I still believe in his abilities. And then Garrett, when he was on, he was as good as anybody. And then Lorenzen is a freak of nature. It's those last three guys at the back of the bullpen can really help you out.
Yeah, Lorenzen used to hit too, right? He's a good hitter also. That's the sense of who we're talking about here. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah. He
he
started some games in the outfield last year. So and he might have been their best defensive outfielder last year.
Wow, and he pitches out of the bullpen too.
And he pitches out of the bullpen and has, I think he had like, I don't know, these average exit velocity was like 97, and his fastball was something like, there's a crazy one. And then of course you also have Aquino. I forgot about that with Aquino. Was he had one of my favorite things. He had a game where he had an exit velocity of like 116 off the bat, and he also had a throw from the outfield that was 100.
Wow.
So that guy is also, you have some tools there, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
With the Reds, what do you think their weakness is?
I think there's that outfield is still unquestioned. The defense is certainly a weakness. I can see a lot of concerns defensively. When you look around, maybe at behind the plate and at shortstop are maybe the only two spots that you say that they might be above average. You would like more offense out of your catcher, out of your shortstop, but I think there's enough there, especially with an expanded DH to help you out. The bullpen, there are still some issues. I think they have some strengths. Robert Stevenson made a huge step forward last year, but I think there are still some question marks in the bullpen, and then how exactly they line it up. I think Akiyama is going to be at the top of the order, but they've needed a true top of the order guy since Shin-Soo Choo was there.
Oh wow, that was
2013. So it's certainly a concern. And then of course, Joey Votto's getting older, and he has had 2 down years in a row, and maybe we're never going to see an up year again from Joey Votto at his age. It's still to be seen.
I think that all the new guys you got should help him. They'll give him some more protection in the lineup. He should see some better pitches to hit. Maybe slide him down towards like the 6-7 range at this point. I mean, what do you think?
I think the one thing with Joey Votto is he's going to get on base regardless.
Right.
And if you say that about Akiyama, just get on base for those guys behind you. You can play him at second, put him second. I'm not a huge lineup deconstructor, but if you put him second ahead of the likes of Castellanos, Suarez, and the Moustakas, those boppers, you should be fine.
That's a good
point. Make those three-run homers. I
got to ask you a funny question since you brought up Amir Garrett. Were you in the ballpark when you took on the whole Pirates team?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was. I mean, because that was at the moment. We had just locked down the trade of Yasiel Puig, and that it was for Trevor Bauer, and trying to work on what was going on with the trade, because that was the same night. That all happened right around the same time. I mean, if you remember, Yasiel Puig was still in the game, and he had been traded. So, and then of course, Amir, he told me, I still remember this several years ago. He just said, I'm a basketball guy, not a baseball guy. If you're going to talk, back it up. I'm going to go at you. And, you can't question that Amir Garrett's going to back up his talk, because he went and he backed up his talk.
Well, yeah, I mean, he literally took on the whole team, so I'm definitely not going to question that. And speaking of Bauer, I need to know your thoughts on him. I absolutely love this dude. I know he's out there. A lot of people may not love him as much, but he speaks his mind. He's trying to help the game, I think, grow, and he's trying to help with advertisement for players. That they don't really marketing for the players. What I meant, they don't market the players well. He's trying to help out, but a lot of people take it the wrong way. Have you talked to Trevor a lot?
Oh yeah, I've talked to Trevor. He's a really interesting guy. He is he's really smart, and he'll let you know that. But he does have a lot of knowledge about pitching, and he is passionate about teaching what he knows and passing it on to others. We've seen this offseason him working with Hunter Green during this shutdown, or whatever we want to call the period we're in now. The number 2 overall pick a couple of years ago, kid who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And one of the things about Hunter Green is he says he needs to work on his breaking pitches. You know what? Trevor Bauer went and worked with him hands-on. And Bauer is a guy that is on the forefront of a lot of the changes in baseball and in pitching. And so it is it's kind of a nice thing. You talk to the other pitchers and other players, and they appreciate what he does, and that he is a guy who looks out for his teammates and wants just to make his team better. And I think there's something admirable in that. Sometimes it can get lost in some of the messaging, but overall with Trevor Bauer I will never question Trevor Bauer's desire to win or his desire to make his teammates better.
So my question is, this is going to go back. My question is, why did the Reds trade away Aroldis Chapman when they did? And was that something that was a tough decision for the team? Because when he was with you guys, he was light. I feel threw 106. I threw one.
I was there for the 105. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I always tell this story. It's funny. It was, I don't remember the year, but the Tigers were in town. It may have been 13, 14. Tigers were in town. And so you don't see those guys much in the interleague play. And Miguel Cabrera hit this. It was off Johnny Cueto. He hit this opposite field home run that was halfway up the stands. And I'm just like, oh, my God. I look over to the Detroit writers. I'm like, holy crap, did you guys see that? And they go, yeah, we see that all the time. He just went oppo halfway up the thing, and none of them seemed impressed. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Well, then comes the 9th inning, and in comes Aroldis Chapman, and he's like 101, 102, and they're like, holy crap, 102, and I'm like, what's the big deal? Wake me at 104, So it's all what you get used to. He was going to be a free agent. Honestly, they should have traded him before they did. They had a deal in the works with the Dodgers that he was going to go to the Dodgers.
Mm.
Yeah, and then it broke that he had the incident with his the mother of his child, and that whole thing. And basically, the baseball side was told to deal him. They didn't want him. And he was an asset that was not at its height at that point. Let's put it that way. And the Yankees, I mean, they pounced on someone on the Reds having no leverage, and made just a great deal. And then they made another great deal when they were out of it and sent it to the Cubs. But that's one of the things you can do as the Yankees, is a guy like that, if he's going into free agency, you feel pretty good about your chances of re-signing him. The Reds didn't feel good about their chances of re-signing him, so they felt like they had to get him something for him before it was too late. Now, I would argue that they should have done it well before that, but that was kind of the time. And in retrospect, it's not the worst trade in Reds history, but it's not a good one.
Yeah, well, speaking of Yankees and Reds cross-up, Sonny Gray has really been a much better pitcher for you guys than he has been with us, obviously. Well, he was with us, obviously, but it just didn't work out in New York. I really think you could tell me more probably, but did the fact that he had the familiarity with his old pitching coach really help that transition to Cincinnati?
Yeah, Derek Johnson is one of the best pitching coaches in baseball. It's funny. I remember, let's see, last year's I was in 2018 playoffs. We were in the we were in Milwaukee, and I was talking to a bunch of people, and it was almost like a foregone conclusion. That was when the Yankees said they were going to trade Sonny Gray. Everybody knew it, and everybody goes, "Well, he's coming to Milwaukee. It's just the right move to go to Milwaukee and be with Derek Johnson." They are very close. Derek Johnson has known Sonny Gray since Sonny Gray was 14 or 15. So it was kind of one of those things that when then Derek Johnson, the Reds hired Derek Johnson, which was a huge move. If they do make it back to the playoffs, it's going to be seen as one of the biggest days of the transformation into a playoff team, was getting Derek Johnson. But what's interesting, though, it's not just Derek Johnson. The assistant pitching coach is Caleb Cotham, who actually came in the Aroldis Chapman trade from the Yankees. But Caleb Cotham is now the assistant pitching coach. He was a college teammate of Sonny Gray's at Vanderbilt. And the Reds' backup catcher, Kirk Casale, was at Vanderbilt with them as well. There's a familiarity. They're Kurt and Sonny are best friends, and it's been kind of a nice combination to have, and it's made him feel at home. I would say more often than not, players say they dream of playing for the New York Yankees. It's just how it is. Mm-hmm. Sonny Gray grew up. The first ballpark he ever went to was Great American Ballpark. He loved the Reds. His dad was a huge Reds fan. And he lives in Nashville, and Nashville is a 4-hour drive from Cincinnati. It's right up the road. It's really not that much further. It's about the same drive is between Nashville and Atlanta. And so, DJ still lives there. Caleb and Kurt all live in Nashville as well. So it's kind of a nice thing. This is where Sonny Gray really kind of wanted to be, and it worked out really nice for him. And it's been a revelation. And so it's been really good.
Yeah, I think it was best for both parties. I mean, the Yankees' return wasn't great. They definitely could have gotten more, I would say, but it worked out well for you guys. And he just wasn't made for New York, unfortunately. You could just tell he wasn't fully comfortable in the Yanks, but he's definitely more fit for the Reds. There's no question about it.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. I don't think there's some weird stat last year that he was like the only pitcher in baseball to not give up more than 3 runs in a start or something like that.
He was like better than you would even realize by looking at the numbers almost.
Yeah. He had just a phenomenal season. So
who do you think is an under the radar player that no one's talking about for the Reds?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, kind of looking at something looking right here at the roster to try to figure that out. Man, I don't know if they have. I have one quite like that. I think there's a lot of people who've given up on Nick Senzel way too early. I think Nick Senzel can be a very, very good player. He's playing center field now. He can play third base. Third base is his natural position. He can play second. I think people are. He was one of the top prospects in baseball. He was hitting really well until he kind of messed around with his swing last year, and then got hurt near the end of the year. But I'm a believer in Nick Senzel, so maybe that's my answer there.
That's a good one.
So, in your opinion, does Great American Ballpark compare to any other ballparks in baseball? Like, do you like it the most out of all of them you've been to?
Oh, no. I mean, it's middle of the road. I mean, the National League, are all pretty okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, the crazy thing is here's a trivia question. What are the 3 oldest parks in the National League?
Wrigley is one.
Mm-hmm.
I know. You got one?
Dodger Stadium.
That's number 2.
2. And number 3, is it Great American Ballpark?
No.
Oh. I'm gonna go with So it's Dodgers, Wrigley, and I'm gonna go with. Oh man, I'm trumped
Julian, you
by
got a
this.
guess?
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I'm
All right,
trumped by this.
let
I'm
me
trying to
real
think.
quick. All
Ooh,
right, I'm gonna go through the leagues quickly. It's tough because one of them.
It's a great trivia question. The third oldest, and that's really what I was asking. What's the third oldest?
All right, let me think quick. I'll give
All
you.
right, tell me when you give up because I got it. It's a good one.
uh,
Yeah, I'm done.
Coors Field.
Oh, I would not
Really?
have guessed that at all.
Yeah,
Wow.
Coors Field. Wow.
yeah,
Not
1995.
think that.
Right. So that's the thing. It's like most of the stadiums are relatively new, so you get to deal with I'm worried more about. I know everybody loves Wrigley Field, and it's a great place to go
Right.
once.
It is.
It's not a great place to go multiple times. It's a terrible working place. It's number
Really?
30 on my list. Yeah, because it was built 100 and some years ago, and so the working conditions aren't great. So that's how I look at it. But as far as what it means to the sport, it's great. And if you go out and sit in the bleachers for a game, it's a lot of fun. So no, Great American's fine. It's fine. The working conditions are good. They changed them up a little bit this year, so I can't say that for sure because I haven't worked in it since they did some remodeling. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I would prefer it not to be such a bandbox. I wish it would play a little bit more fair. So, yeah, it's fine. It's comfortable. I mean, I think most of the National League parks are at least fine. I see Philly, Washington, Cincinnati, St. Louis. Those are all pretty interchangeable. I really like PNC, and then San Francisco in the National League.
I love PNC.
Safeco, I think is, or whatever it is in Seattle now. I really like Fenway, but I don't have to go there often. I went there last year for the first time in 20 years. So,
You want to talk about old? Huh?
yeah, I saw it. So it's a little bit different. I was there for the '99 All-Star game, and then I was there last year for one game for another story. So it was interesting, but I hadn't been forever because American League or National League, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated with all the ballparks. I actually want to get to all 30. I've hit 16 so far. Last year we did Fenway for the first time. PNC is my favorite as well of all the ones I've seen. I got to get to Great American still. I've done San Francisco. Wrigley's got to get done. Coors, a bunch. But I really love traveling to the ballparks, and it's really fun because they're all different. That's the one thing about baseball. Every stadium's different, like all the other sports.
Right. And it's I miss going to the ballpark. I miss the feel. I miss going outside. There's nothing like it.
It's just we can't make up for it. All these months we've gone almost 3 months without baseball. That was just terrible. Like I just miss going to the Yankee games. We would have gone to like 10 plus games already probably. Oh my god.
Yeah. How would you say the fan base is in Cincinnati?
I think there are a lot of. It's a hungry fan base. I don't know that they're different than too many other places, and that when the team is doing well, they're more interested. So that's not unique, that's for sure. But it is a baseball town. They've had a baseball team for a long time. So it's interesting, and I think there is a love of the team and the sport in this city, and it's it goes through the ages. They've seen some great teams and they've seen some not so great teams. So it's hungry for a winner. That's for sure. There's, the last time a Cincinnati team has won a playoff series was the 1995 Reds when they,
Wow,
beat who was it? I just watched that game the other day for something. But yeah, so who did they beat then in the NLDS, and then they lost to the Braves in the NLCS, and then the Bengals haven't won a playoff game since I think 91.
Oh,
Yeah, it was 91. It was so it's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, who do you think's the favorite in the NL Central?
It's a good question. I don't know that there is a favorite. It's not the Pirates.
Yeah, that one we could agree on for sure.
I can make a case for any of the other four teams in that division. I think I lean towards the Cardinals.
Okay.
I like their rotation. I always just feel like there's something with the Cardinals that they always kind of have an extra something, little devil magic. And so I would lean towards the Cardinals, but really the four teams at the top, all the non-Pirate teams, I think you could throw in a hat and pull out and you'd find it. And maybe even more so now under a shortened season.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying to an extent. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. The Cubs bullpen is good. Cardinals have a great rotation of offense now, but we got to see like how the pieces fit still because they haven't played together yet. So it's really, I thought it was going to come down to you and Cardinals, Reds Cardinals when I first was looking at it, but now with the shortened season, it's anyone's game at this point, and it's going to be interesting to see. Who do you think's at the biggest disadvantage with the shortened season? Is there anyone that pops out at you?
I don't know. I mean, I think that is all going to depend on health. And we won't know that until we have a starting date, until we've started some things and we see who is healthy and who is not. I don't know that there's any team that's constructed as so that they will be at a disadvantage. But when it comes to who is healthy, and every injury is going to be magnified because 6 weeks, if you're out 6 weeks, well, that's the season.
Yeah. And
48 games.
Had a bunch of injury issues last season. So we would have basically lost almost everyone for like the majority of the season, probably.
Right.
So I'm definitely worried for sure.
And the Nationals, after 48 games or 50 games, were nowhere near. They probably wouldn't have even made an expanded
playoff. That was my point in all of this and what makes it so ridiculous. That right there is the prime example for why this proposal's crap and why it shouldn't even happen. It's just going to be forced and it's going to be ugly, but like we said, we'll take it over nothing, but it's not going to show who the best team is by any means.
No, but I don't know that the playoffs ever do.
That's true, too. That's a good point. So do you think they should do expanded playoffs? Do you think they should do 16 with the 40 games?
I think the shorter the season, the more playoff teams there should be.
Okay, I can respect that. Give everyone a shot, basically. I mean, why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's all going to be different anyway, and it gives us more baseball.
Exactly. So what are you most looking forward to if the season resumes?
Just baseball. I miss it.
Yeah.
I really do. I've been watching games in Korea. I've been watching games in Taiwan. I'm looking forward to watching some games and some Japanese games. But there's nothing like being there and seeing it live and being around for just real live actual baseball. I can't wait.
I have another. Speaking of that, so what do you think about fans? Will we see them at all in the stands this year?
No, I don't expect it.
Oh boy,
interesting because I mean you see that Texas is going to let them, but they probably going to do that like all of them or none of them thing, right? Like they probably won't let Texas have fans like other places not having, like maybe the Florida, Arizona teams because they seem to be doing better over there. But I get what you're saying. It's tough. We don't know right now.
Right. We don't even know how many games are going to be or when they're going to be or if they're going to be. So. Who's going to be in the stands? I don't know. I just don't.
Yeah. So what have you been doing to keep busy through all this? Do you have any tips of what we should do to keep ourselves sharp during this time?
I have an 8-year-old, so I have a lot of stuff I have to deal with there. I've been reading and writing and reporting. So not much different. I'm just doing it from my basement, as you can see, as opposed to at the ballpark.
Yeah, we're trying our best to stay active, talk to different people. This definitely helps. This is a solid connection. I appreciate everything so far. Bobby, do you have anything for him?
Yeah, my question to you is, what advice can you give the both of us? Because we both want to be insiders as well and really write. Julian and I are big into the Athletic. We love your stories. We love all the stories on the Athletic. And we just, we want to do that one day. What would you say would be the best advice to, work towards something like that?
Well, I think you guys have started already by starting and doing. It's easier to do now than ever. When I started in this business, you kind of had to get a job at a newspaper and work your way up and cover high schools and cover colleges and get to baseball. And that's what I did. It's a traditional path. My number one thing is if you want to be a writer, you should write. You need to write, and then write some more. Writing it's an exercise. It's called an exercise for a reason because you have to exercise that muscle. And the more you do it, the better you get. And as much as I think writing is important, reading is more important. You should read 4 or 5 times as much as you write, and you should be writing a lot. So it sounds pretty simplistic, but reading and writing are my number one things. You just find things that expose yourself to all sorts of different writers, also different types of subjects, and kind of broaden your horizons, and then just write and figure it out. And if it's crap to begin with, it's crap to begin with, but the more you do it, the better you get.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. And I know you sent me the stuff with the books to look into. I'll definitely take a look at those as well. I'm also curious, you seem to be more of a writer, but have you ever done like camera work? Do you have any tips for like broadcasting, like camera work?
God, no.
Strictly writing?
God, no. Yeah, I've never had any interest in that. I grew this to hide my face. So, yeah, no. Yeah, you can see that it is not my expertise. It's just not something I've really never been interested in. I enjoy kind of staying in the background.
Okay, that's a fair point. I figured I would ask because I actually have an interest in both. It's actually what I went to school for was journalism and communication. So I guess it all feeds into each other.
Definitely.
So who do you think wins it all if we have the shortened season? Who's your World Series?
I mean, I think it's hard to go. I mean, I'm going to go chalk and say Dodgers and Yankees.
Oh,
Hey,
yep.
all right. That's what we like.
And
we want that too.
Let's say 7 games. I don't know who wins it, but maybe we can get 7 games in the most baseball possible. So I think we've earned 7 games to set that up and see it.
Even though we're in it and we're Yankee fans, I really think Yankees-Dodgers will be tremendous for the game at this point. I think that's the World Series baseball needs to resurrect itself a little bit after all this ugly backlash. I think it would be a nice ending to the season after everything that's happened.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate
Thank you so much. Yep.
Yeah, no problem.
And we'll definitely stay in touch, and maybe we'll do this again down the line. And let's just hope baseball comes back sooner rather than later, because I'm losing my mind trying to keep track of all the updates. I'm trying to keep everyone posted, and everyone's screaming at me saying what's going on. It's tough. Everyone's like, we don't care anymore. I'm just like, look, I'm just trying to let everyone know what's going on as it's happening. But here we are.
I've got it easy. When something happens, Ken Rosenthal will tell me. You'll know the same time I do.
Well, and I'll know pretty soon, too, because I got his alerts on my phone.
Very good. Perfect.
So, all right. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
No problem, guys. Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.